What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for February 19, 2021. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Elimination Chamber weekend, believe it or not. The pay-per-view is tomorrow night. Despite there only being, I think, 5 matches now announced between the 2 Chamber matches, the winner of the SmackDown Chamber facing Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship on the same show. We now have a women's tag team title match added to the card, and a United States Championship triple threat match. I think Asuka and Lacey Evans is still being advertised. There's no way it happened. Storyline or real or whatever, which I'm pretty sure it's real, per PW Insider. That match is not happening. If Lacey Evans is indeed pregnant, but even if she's not, and she isn't storyline, I mean, I'm sure she is. That was a pretty legit thing, apparently. Why would you do the match? Why would you still advertise it? Why have we not gotten an update on the Raw Women's Championship match for Sunday? That happened 5 days ago. I mean, the whole thing about how, she's pregnant, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, according to WWE, they're still advertising the match. So it's just a fucking mess right now. The pay-per-view, to me, feels completely pointless. And in a nutshell, I'll get into it here with my review and thoughts on SmackDown from last night. This did not do a very good job of getting me any more excited than I was for Elimination Chamber previously, going into the pay-per-view on Sunday. How excited was I to begin with? Not very excited. It's not the Royal Rumble, it's not WrestleMania, it's not one of the big 4 pay-per-views. The chamber matches themselves do have potential, given the level of talent involved, but the predictability in both chambers, honestly, isn't overly exciting. Cesaro winning, I think, would be awesome. Sheamus winning and becoming WWE champion might be interesting. I just don't think this pay-per-view is necessary. Like, Roman facing the winner of the Chamber on the same show pretty much gives away that whoever wins, it doesn't matter who it is, they're losing to Roman Reigns later on in the night. And that's fine. Roman Reigns should be champion right now. But it makes the pay-per-view completely pointless. With WrestleMania right around the corner, I've always said this, but the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is so oddly placed on the calendar. I know it's supposed to be like the final roadblock on the road to WrestleMania, the final pit stop, as they say, on the road to WrestleMania, even though we have Fastlane in like a month and a half, whatever. Despite that, I don't know, I just feel like the pay-per-view would be better a little bit later on in the year, because I feel like every Elimination Chamber pay-per-view we've gotten in the last 10 years practically has been either extremely predictable or extremely forgettable. Very rarely do we get any major developments coming out of the Elimination Chamber. That hasn't happened since 08, 09, 2010. That hasn't happened in a very long time. So anyway, as far as this SmackDown show is concerned, again, I usually enjoy SmackDown far more than I do Raw. I don't know if that was the case this week. Raw wasn't a bad show. It was a pretty decent show. Not a great show by any means. More tolerable. The gauntlet match of the third hour, which was nice. SmackDown, it was more of a miss than a hit, in my opinion, in terms of the stuff that they did. I don't know. There was some good stuff on this show, but I just kind of felt like it was a minor misstep for the Blue Brain. So let's get right into it here. Roman Reigns kicking off the show with Edge. Now, Edge opened the show. First time seeing Edge on SmackDown in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, since he showed up the week after Elimination Chamber. I think that was only 2 weeks ago. And Roman confronted him, and this was a nice little preview of what we could probably expect in the road to WrestleMania. There is no doubt in my mind that the WrestleMania match for Edge should be him versus Roman Reigns. They have great chemistry on the mic. I think it would be far more interesting than Edge versus Drew McIntyre. It just makes the most sense, and they have great, like I said, really, really good chemistry on the mic. The back and forth here I thought was really, really good, giving us a nice preview of what we can expect going into WrestleMania. So I thought this was good. Sami Zayn came out, interrupted, and kind of teased the possibility of winning the Chamber or becoming champion. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Got super kicked for his efforts by Jey Uso, and that was the end of the segment. So Sami Zayn was completely pointless here, but I thought the stuff from Roman and Edge was really good. And again, to me, that is already the Mania match. This is why the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is completely pointless, because I know they're teasing, Edge might go to Raw or to NXT or maybe to SmackDown. They could have just set this in stone from the get-go, and I do like the unpredictability there. Edge can go for a variety of champions. Like he said on commentary a little bit later on in the night during the main event, he technically has 13 options between the 6 men in the Chamber, the other 6 men in the Chamber on SmackDown, and Roman Reigns, who's not in the Chamber. Technically 14 options, if you include Finn Balor. So that's a lot of different options. I think most of those aren't going to happen. He's not facing Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania. He's not facing King Corbin at WrestleMania. But it's nice to kind of put that out there. But again, to me, the only option out of all 14 that really makes sense is Roman Reigns versus Edge for that Universal Championship. And I think what we've seen so far gives me a lot of hope that the build to that match at Mania is going to be great. So hopefully we get that set in stone after Elimination Chamber. And what they can do, because Edge has said, I'm choosing my champion after the pay-per-view. Well, I was going to say that he can come out and spear Roman Reigns after Roman probably retains his title on Sunday, but that would be before the WWE Championship match in the main event. So why would he choose the champion before he even knows who the WWE champion is, unless he has his sights set on Roman Reigns, which is perfectly fine too. Because at the end of this show, spoiler alert, Roman Reigns speared Edge. So you would think Edge would want to get that spear back by laying out Roman Reigns on Sunday and setting in stone their Mania match for April 10th, 11th, whatever it is. I don't know what day it would be on, probably night 2. That's only my speculation. So our first match on the show saw Shinsuke Nakamura take on Apollo Crews. This came after Shinsuke Nakamura battled Big E last week for the Intercontinental Championship in a match that was cut short by Apollo Crews' interference. Apollo Crews has lost a lot lately, but still wants another match for the Intercontinental Championship, and that was once again the case here. They made the case on commentary because Big E was on commentary, but not really. He had a headset on, but he was sitting at ringside in a lounge chair with a one of those desk tables, what I'm actually using right now to record on, one of those fold-out tables, and then like this. He had his feet in something. I don't know if it was like a massager or I think there was water in there, so he was probably, I don't know, he was cleaning his feet or whatever. But he looked really, really comfortable. He had a TV dinner by him. I mean, this is how we watch SmackDown every single Friday night, so I thought that was entertaining. But what I was going to say was that on the headset, the commentators asked Big E, if Big E wins here, not Big E, I'm sorry, if Apollo Crews wins here and beats Shinsuke, would that earn him another opportunity? And Big E said no, which honestly, he's not wrong. So from a storyline standpoint, if Apollo Crews wants another match for that Intercontinental Championship, which he's probably going to get anyway for reasons I'll get to in a second, he's going to have to win some matches. Beating Shinsuke is not enough. It's something, but it's not enough. He's either got to beat Big E in tag team action, pin Big E, or beat a couple of other people before he can earn his way to an Intercontinental Championship match. One win, and I'm sorry, but over to Shinsuke Nakamura is not going to do it. I like Shinsuke a lot, and I'm really hoping that this is only temporary for him, and I don't have faith that WWE will do this, but I think Nakamura and Roman Reigns makes perfect sense for that Fastlane pay-per-view. I mean, mere weeks out from WrestleMania, you know who's going to fucking win, but unless they're planning on doing it after WrestleMania, they planted the seed for that match about a month ago in the Gauntlet, and they never went back to it. Shinsuke has brought it up multiple times. He's mentioned it multiple times. I don't know how you do that and not go back to it at some point, which is why I'm hoping his involvement right now in the Intercontinental Championship picture is only temporary. But anyway, so this was a fine match. Only went a few minutes, so never really reached that level that I think it could have. But Nakamura won. So Nakamura wins the match. He's celebrating. Apollo Crews just goes off. And technically, the guy was already kind of a heel. He was already a dick. He interrupted last week's Intercontinental Championship match. No babyface would do that. He was kind of more of a tweener, if anything else. But what we saw here absolutely cemented his status as a heel. And I fucking love it. And I think Apollo Crews is a genuine good guy. I mean, I got the chance to interview him about a month and a half ago. Really, really nice guy. He seems like a natural babyface in the ring. But the problem is that the guy's been in the main roster now for 5 years. And aside from when he was United States champion about a year ago, they've never really been able to figure out how to utilize Apollo Crews. And part of that is on him because he's never really been the greatest on the mic. He's a great wrestler, but he's never really been overly interesting as a character. It's not like he was ever really ready for that next step in terms of being a main eventer on the main roster. But it does go both ways. More so WWE's booking of him, but, his own character just as a character isn't overly interesting, at least not until now. So again, Apollo goes off. He grabs the steel steps, goes after Shinsuke, goes after Big E, just destroys both guys, takes Shinsuke, throws him over the barricade, specifically targets it on Big E. He goes in the ring, grabs the steel steps, and you don't see it, but you're supposed to think that he dropped the steel steps on Big E on the outside of the ring. I probably on his head, because WWE offered an update today, actually, on Talking Smack on their website, saying that he had, I forgot what the exact wording was, but it sounded like a brain injury, so I think they want you to think that he dropped it on his head. I thought it might have been on like his arm or something, but he dropped it right on his face, essentially, which would probably fucking kill the guy in real life, but you didn't see it here. You didn't see it. They wanted you to think that he actually hit him in the head with the steel steps. Of course, he didn't, but that was the implication here. It's all about the implication. So anyway, I thought this was great. The match itself was really nothing to write home about. There wasn't really much to the match, but the post-match heel turn from Apollo to cement, and he already was kind of a heel, like I said, but to kind of completely cement that heel turn, solidify that turn as a bad guy, I thought was great. And I think they finally figured out how to utilize Apollo Crews. And it's weird to say because he's lost a lot lately, but it's all a part of that character development. If they're just building up Apollo to get another match, the Intercontinental Championship, which he's lost a lot, so again, you're probably asking, how does he get another shot? Well, Big E will come back from the injury, and hopefully not next week, because they made it sound like it was a pretty serious injury. But he'll be back in the next, couple of weeks, and he'll demand a match with Apollo, even if it means putting his Intercontinental Championship on the line, because he wants revenge for what Apollo did to him here. And that's fine. But if they are just building up Apollo to again lose to Big E, honestly, Big E's had a very good reign so far, but I would be completely okay with Apollo taking that championship from him for a little bit, maybe before putting it back on Big E or building up Big E for the main event scene. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what you do. But it's just an idea because I want to see Apollo be featured more on the show. He's been featured a lot lately, but I would love to see him more in a prominent role on the show as aside from just losing all the time. Because if he loses a lot and it doesn't lead anywhere and he loses again to Big E, then the guy's just a heel loser instead of a babyface loser, So this was a step in the right direction. SmackDown could use the heels now that they've seemingly turned Nakamura and Cesaro. Turning Apollo made the most sense. And I think him and Big E could have some more great matches together. And Shinsuke, again, him being in the picture for now makes sense, but I really do hope that they build him up a little bit more for that one-off Universal Championship match. And even if it's only a one-off, that's fine. But him and Roman has got to happen at some point. But I am really, really digging what we're seeing right now from Apollo and from Big E in the Intercontinental Championship picture. It's the first time that we've really had a feud in that title scene that's been dragged out for a while. It's been interesting because I feel like we've had some feuds over the championship that were good, but didn't really last long. Like I thought the AJ, Jeff Hardy, Sami Zayn stuff was very good. We never really got a feud after that. We had Big E and Sami on and off for a little while. That wasn't really much of a feud. AJ, Hardy, and Sami was good. Before that, I don't really know when was the last time we had like a full-on feud for the Intercontinental Championship. Bryan and Sami was very short-lived. Before that, you would have to go back to Braun and Shinsuke. Wasn't really much of a feud. Braun won every single fucking week, so who cares? You know what I mean? So that wasn't really much of a feud. And Nakamura didn't have a lot of feuds as champion in late 2019. So this is honestly the first feud in a while, surprisingly enough, as sad as that is to say, over the Intercontinental Championship. That's actually been really interesting, and I'm really digging both guys' work for that belt. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying it right now. So after that, we had Seth Rollins come out in this weird-ass suit. I mean, this guy is just, I don't know what he's thinking. He's probably not thinking at all when he wears these suits, but that's all a part of the character, I am sure. But he came out wearing this wacky-ass suit, talking about his attack on Cesaro from last week, threatening legal action. Not even threatening. He said he actually sent the letter already to WWE officials. I forgot exactly for what, because no one did anything. Maybe just for disrespecting him. I'm not exactly sure. Essentially, he was demanding respect from Cesaro and the rest of the WWE universe. For those wondering, he did come out again to the Burn It Down theme song. I heard someone had said on Twitter that it might have been a one-off last week, just to make people think he was coming back as the old Seth Rollins. He didn't. Since we are still getting the Messiah, I am a little disappointed they're not staying with the old theme song. And listen, I think the Burn It Down theme song is way better. I'm not actually a big fan of the theme song he was using up until he brought back the Burn It Down one. But it fit the character more. And I know he's not the Messiah anymore. But he still kind of is. The way that he came across here, he is still acting like the Messiah without actually using the word Messiah. So I would bring back the old theme, but if that's too Messiah-like for them, if they want to go back to this one, then that's fine, because it's a good theme. But, yeah, what's interesting is that I think Rollins is actually the first one to actually go back to using a CFO theme song. No one else has done that. A lot of people in the last year and a half have ditched their CFO music for the new, Def Rebel theme songs. And some of those are good, some of them not so much. And Rollins was one of those people. But he's one of the first to go back to his old theme song. Maybe he didn't like it. I don't know. I got the gist. I got the sense that he did. But all this is probably leading to Rollins and Cesaro one-on-one at some point. And I think that's fucking awesome. I'm not sure, and they probably will do it on TV. But what I want to see happen is see them save it for Fastlane. Because if you can recall, when he attacked Cesaro last week, who was the person who came to Cesaro's aid? Daniel Bryan. After Bryan earned Cesaro's respect the week before when Cesaro beat him. Was it the week before or 2 weeks ago? I don't know. It was a while ago. But, so that is probably how they segue into Rollins and Bryan at WrestleMania, if I had to take a guess. I don't know if Fastlane's too late. They'll probably have to do it on SmackDown before then, but I would love to see Cesaro get another major pay-per-view match out of this feud. Again, you can do it on TV, and that's fine. But I would also like to see it saved for Fastlane, which, again, is right before WrestleMania. But that's probably how they build into Rollins and Bryan at WrestleMania. I still maintain that's the match they're doing, not Bryan and Roman or Rollins and Roman or whatever. It's probably going to be Bryan and Rollins, and to me that makes the most sense. We then had a women's tag team match, the Riott Squad taking on Natalya and Tamina. God, who fucking cares? I like the Riott Squad, but Tamina and Natalya are channel-changing material. Natalya is just... She's bearable because she's at least decent in the ring. She is so overrated. People like to make her out to be, she's one of the greatest of her generation. Yeah, maybe back in 2008 we were subjected to bras and panties matches every week and 10-second diva matches. But in 2021, she's far from the best. If anything, I would put her a little bit lower on the totem pole. And she's also very annoying and very uninteresting. Tamina's even worse. How Tamina still has a job here, I have no fucking clue. Honestly, I have no clue. She's just not good. She's not good at all. And they won here, too, following a distraction from Billie Kay again. So Billie Kay comes out in the middle of the match, as she has for the last month and a half now, distracting the Riott Squad, leading to the win for Tamina and Natalya. And then after Billie Kay attempts to celebrate with Tamina and Natalya afterward, they lay her out. Where is this supposed to be going, and why should I fucking care? Billie Kay can be entertaining, I'm not denying that. She is one of the better parts of this feud, if you can even really call it that. But where is this supposed to be going? It feels like they're just filling TV time every single week. And honestly, I think putting these women on the show every single week is a mistake. Because I feel like they've run their course with every possible match they can do with the Riott Squad and Billie Kay, Tamina, and Natalya. Aside from having Ruby and Liv face Billie one-on-one, they've done every other combination. They've had Liv and Ruby face Tamina and Natalya one-on-one. They've done a bunch of tag team matches. They've already had them face Bayley and lost 2 weeks in a row. So I don't know what you do from this point. Tamina and Natalya won here. If they're becoming a tag team, God save us all. That might actually be worse than Shayna and Nia, because at least Shayna's good. Natalya bores me to fucking tears, and Tamina's just terrible. So if that's the direction they're going in with this, and they're the new tag team going for the tag titles, we're fucked, because they're terrible. The Riott Squad have been losing a lot lately. I mean, it's weird, because they were on a winning streak for the first, a good portion of December, January, and then the Billie Kay stuff fell apart, and they started losing again. So I don't know. Why the Riott Squad in 3 or 4 years have yet to be the women's tag team champions, I have no fucking clue. I mean, it's ridiculous, honestly, at this point. They're giving the belts to all these makeshift tag teams, but the Riott Squad have yet to get a real run with them. That makes no sense to me. Speaking of the tag team champions, they were on Ding Dong Hello with Bayley, Shayna Baszler, and Nia Jax, guest starring on the show. It is growing on me. Bayley is doing a better job in the host role. I think it's a great spot for her to be in, because she's really grown as a talker, as a heel in the last year. It does reek a lot of the waiting room, Britt Baker's talk show in AEW, which also started off very rough. Bayley's getting better in the role, so I think that's cool. And the segment was fine. It brought out, Sasha Banks and Bianca and Reginald, which led to an impromptu 6-person tag team match with Bayley, who was still in her turtleneck and pants, did not have her ring gear ready, her teaming with Nia and Shayna against Sasha, Bianca, and Reginald. Why? I have no fucking clue. So the match happens. Reginald really can't do much aside from the acrobatic stuff. He's not, I don't think, a trained wrestler. I know he's signed to them. He's at the Performance Center, I think. But all he does is acrobatic shit. He's not an actual, like, people complain about AEW, flippity doodahs, which is true to an extent. NXT, same thing. This guy is literally flippity doodahs. And it gets old after a match or two, quote unquote match or two. So anyway, he ended up pinning Nia Jax. I think Nia Jax caught him in midair. She was ready to do a crossbody, or he was doing a crossbody, and Nia caught him. And then I think Sasha and Bianca drop-kicked Reginald on top of Nia, who was then able to pin her and win the match for his team. So as a result of that, Bianca and Sasha are getting a tag title match on Sunday at Elimination Chamber. There's a lot wrong with this picture. First of all, the positives, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Sasha and Bianca as partners, the tension teased, whatever. That's got to be a lot like Edge and Roman. That's got to be the WrestleMania match. It has to be. Bianca and Sasha is the only match for Bianca that makes sense. I don't want to see her face fucking Asuka, who's a complete afterthought. Io Shirai's busy at the moment. It's got to be Sasha and Bianca. That's the biggest money match you can do at WrestleMania. So that's number one. The rest of this was complete trash. The match was whatever. The previous talking segment was fine. But what it was supposed to accomplish is just... So I guess we're supposed to think that they're turning Reginald babyface based off how Carmella treats him, because he went backstage later on in the show. Carmella threw wine in his face. He was helping her cheat to win matches previously. He faced Sasha at one point and had his ass kicked by Sasha. And he's been a thorn in the side of Sasha, now teasing like a love interest with her, and she's coming off very flirty to him, which is fucking weird. Sasha just annoys me. I mean, she's got to be a heel. I know she's a tweener and she's kind of going back and forth, but she's been kind of leaning more babyface, even though she's acting heel. She's just so unlikable, and I think Sasha's fantastic, but as a character, she's so fucking annoying. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday, and I think Bianca and Sasha versus like Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez on that episode of NXT in 2 weeks, that would be awesome. But honestly, I think just for the sake of this storyline, I would have Sasha turn on Bianca, and that's how you kick off the Mania match. Could you give them a short tag team title run? Sure. But really, at the end of the day, I don't want any more 2 belts banks or any of that shit. Who cares? Just like move on from it, have Shayna and Nia win on Sunday, have Sasha and Bianca branch off into their own feud, ditch the Carmella shit. I don't know what she has to do with any of this, and I like Carmella's work a lot. But Reginald, he's not a babyface. I don't give a fuck about Reginald. I don't care that he can do the flippity doodahs. I don't care that Carmella abuses him, because he's still kind of going back and forth. I have no idea what to think of Reginald, aside from the fact that he is also annoying. So that's one thing. The second thing is that he pinned Nia. So honestly, from a logical standpoint, is it because he's a guy, so he can't get a women's tag team title shot? I mean, yeah, that would make sense. Even though they've had men wear women's gold before in this company, very rarely. I mean, China won the Intercontinental Championship. So, I mean, again, I don't want to see Reginald go for the tag titles, but wouldn't it have made more sense for Reginald and Carmella to earn a tag team title shot, because it was Reginald who pinned Nia, not Bianca, not Sasha? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, that makes no sense. And the third thing is that Sasha and Bianca were on the winning team. They didn't beat Nia. They didn't beat Shayna. That was Reginald who pinned Nia. They're getting a tag team title shot on Sunday, even though Lana and Naomi, who I don't give a fuck about. I love Naomi, but the tag team itself I don't care about whatsoever. They won a number 1 contenders match a few weeks ago on Raw. Before Dakota and Raquel won the Dusty Classic, and before this happened on Friday, Naomi and Lana became the number 1 contenders a few weeks ago. Right after I think it was the night after the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. They didn't win a number 2 contenders match. They didn't win a number 3 contenders match. They won a number 1 contenders match. I feel like this company loses sight of what the word number 1 contenders, or the phrase number 1 contenders, is supposed to mean. That means you are the number 1 contender. And it's not just WWE. I mean, fucking AEW did it too. AEW had a number 1 contenders battle royal for the tag team titles a couple of weeks ago. And then like Santana Ortiz got a title shot this past week. Why? They lost. Who cares? You know what? I hate when companies do that. When they give someone else a title shot, even though the other person is the number 1 contender. No one should be getting a title shot before the number 1 contender. So I don't know what's going on here. They're trying to build up the women's tag team division, which this is the most they've had going on in the division for a while now. They have Bianca and Sasha doing their thing. Nia and Shayna are the champions. You have on Raw Naomi and Lana, the number one contenders. And then over on NXT, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. So you have a lot of teams going after the titles, which is refreshing. For the first time in a long time, they actually feel semi-important. But whatever they're going for with Sasha and Bianca, even if they did the tag team title shot, even if they did the tag team title match between those two teams, I don't even hate that idea. I think that makes perfect sense. But the way they set it up here made no sense. Reginald should not have pinned Nia. If anything, it should have been Sasha or Bianca or whatever the fuck. That just made zero sense to me. So the match was whatever. I don't know what the fuck they're supposed to be going for. And I just don't care about Reginald. So if he's a babyface now, I don't give a shit. Rey and Dominic Mysterio taking on Otis and Chad Gable, who are now going by the Alpha Academy, not to be confused with American Alpha, which is unfortunately not going to happen anymore. And it hasn't happened in years. But unless they clear Jason Jordan, we are never getting an American Alpha reunion, and that makes me very sad. So Rey and Dominic took on Otis and Gable here in a match that literally went less than 2 minutes. I mean, how can anyone care about this division if these matches get no time? I enjoyed Street Profits versus Otis and Gable last week, but there were no stakes. They're two babyface teams. There's no real reason for them to be fighting aside from the Profits seemingly attempting to earn another shot at the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So the positives, I like Rey and Dominic as a tag team. I think if Dominic's going to be on the main roster, which he really shouldn't be, and I thought Dominic's match with Rollins at SummerSlam was great, but that was the peak. That was the peak. Everything that came after that was completely unnecessary. Aside from one or two matches with Rollins after that, it's just been a complete waste. So to have him on the main roster, he really should be in NXT or at the Performance Center or even on 205 Live. Honestly, Rey managing Dominic to the Cruiserweight Championship, I think would make a lot more sense than whatever they're doing right now on the main roster, which is practically nothing. So they're supposed to be in the tag team title picture, which again is the best role for them if they're going to be on the show. And then they beat Otis and Gable by disqualification after Gable refused to get out of the ring. So that was a lame finish. Otis turns heel afterward by going after Rey and doing some splashes on him at the behest of Chad Gable. So I guess Alpha Academy are now heels. They're heels now. I mean, come on, man. So let me ask this. What the hell was the point of breaking up Heavy Machinery if you were just going to put Otis in another tag team and then turn him heel? They turned Tucker heel too over on Raw. They had him turn on Otis, which we never got a payoff for. Tucker has been nowhere to be seen for months now. Otis is now a heel with Gable. What the fuck are we going to? I know the division needs heels, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when Rude and Ziggler are heel champions. So it's not like Otis and Gable are going to win. It's not like they're going to beat Rude and Ziggler for the tag titles. They're heels too. If anything, it should be Rey and Dominic. In reality, it really should have been the Profits never losing the championships. And then maybe you could have had Otis and Gable go heel or bring back the heel Usos. I don't know, man. This division is just a fucking mess. They're trying to make teams, and I appreciate that, but Otis going heel makes absolutely no sense. He is not a heel. He's not a heel. So I thought that was really, really stupid. We got to the main event, 6-man tag team match preview for the Elimination Chamber on Sunday. Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro beating Sami Zayn, King Corbin, and Jey Uso. I will say this, we had Edge confronting every member of the Elimination Chamber match on Sunday in various segments. Edge was in the same ring as Jey at the start of the show, but he went on to confront backstage Daniel Bryan, which was fucking cool, because 2-3 years ago, had you told anyone, oh, Bryan and Edge will be in the same segment on SmackDown as two active performers, no one would have believed you. And here we are. That's got to be a match that happens at some point. He confronted Kevin Owens, and they were very buddy-buddy with each other, which tells me they're having a future feud, and Edge is going to get portrayed by Kevin Owens, which I'll get to in a second. He confronted Sami in the opening segment. He was backstage with Corbin. No thanks. And he was also backstage with Cesaro, which I thought was really cool. So anyway, this was a good match. I thought it was enjoyable for what it was. And I forgot to say as well, when Bryan and Cesaro were discussing strategy for the main event, and they were confronted by Kevin Owens, So Kevin Owens came up, and they made the joke that he turns on all of his partners, including Big E and Kofi, or not Big E. He turned on Kofi, which he did. He turned on the New Day a couple of years ago. He turned on Sami Zayn, which Cesaro acknowledged. And they even acknowledged that he turned on Chris Jericho without saying his name. Brian was like, oh, there's one major name I'm missing. If only I had a list, or something along those lines, which got a real big pop out of me. So the main event was good. It was well wrestled. Again, it didn't really move the needle for me in terms of getting me more excited for the pay-per-view on Sunday, getting me more excited for the Elimination Chamber match on Sunday. I figure Cesaro's going to win, and Brian picked up the win here, as he should have, because he hasn't really won a lot lately. I know he won last week, but he really should be winning a lot more than he does. I have Cesaro winning on Sunday. That's my pick. He's not going to beat Roman, of course, for the championship, but Cesaro makes more sense than, Brian should be safe for down the road. He makes more sense than Owens, who's already gotten a million fucking title shots. I don't want to see that again. Sami, no. Corbin's not going to win. And Jey Uso, been there, done that as well. So my money's on Cesaro. He's got to win that thing. And I think him and Roman would be fucking awesome. So that wasn't all, though. A lot like last week, we had pure chaos ending the show here. After Brian picks up the win, he gets laid out with an end of days by King Corbin. Then I think King Corbin was laid out with a stunner, I want to say, from Kevin Owens. This is where it got a bit blurry for me. So Corbin got laid out, Jey Uso got laid out, Sami Zayn, Owens, blah, blah, blah. Cesaro got laid out. So Edge ends up coming in the ring. Jey Uso was last man standing of those six, I believe. I believe he laid out Cesaro. So Jey Uso gets speared by Edge, who then got speared by Roman Reigns. So that was really cool to see Roman and Edge going out of the Battle of the Spears, which is more of it's a better Battle of the Spears than Goldberg and Roman, in my opinion, which I'm also looking forward to at some point, not at WrestleMania. But yeah, I thought this was a good match. And I think the ending closing segment with Roman spearing Edge was one of the best parts of the entire show. Honestly, even better than the match itself, in my opinion. So, good stuff. Unfortunately, though, as I said, this show didn't do a hell of a whole lot to get me more excited for the pay-per-view than I already was, which wasn't really that excited to begin with. Just because we don't have a lot of matches announced. They can do a major development maybe in the undercard with the tag titles or the US title. That's cool. But the WWE Chamber match, adding in Kofi, that was a great decision. The match on the whole, though, it's people we've seen with the belt before. And Sheamus winning would be nice, but like McIntyre retaining, I love McIntyre, but they've had so many champions fucking retain inside the chamber that I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that again. It's happened 8 or 9 times in the last 10 years. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I have Cesaro winning for SmackDown, probably Sheamus winning for Raw, and it could be a good show. Maybe I'll set my expectations real low, and then I'll have no choice but to see my expectations exceeded on Sunday. I think that'd be nice. But we'll see. This feels like a very filler show, in my opinion. As was this episode of SmackDown. It felt like a very filler edition of the show. Nothing real must-see. I thought the closing minute was cool. I thought the Apollo Crews official heel turn, was well done. Everything else, and Roman and Edge kind of going at it in the opening segment was good too. The Rollins promo was good. More of a transitional thing. The women's tag team match, no thanks. The six-person tag team match was whatever, and the way that it was set up for Sunday made no sense either. The Otis and Gable heel turn, again, it's hard to care. So this was a mixed bag of a show, more of a miss than a hit, as I said earlier. But SmackDown is usually an enjoyable 2 hours, just not a great show on Friday. And we'll see what happens on Sunday at Elimination Chamber. So thank you guys, as always, for checking out these reviews. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video if you're listening on YouTube, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And hit that bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. Talking Smack review is also going up shortly, if not already, here on the channel. And if you haven't already, check out my exclusive interview right now with Kofi Kingston from yesterday, talking all about, as I just got done talking about, Elimination Chamber, Kofi Mania 2, Cesaro, and so much more. It was a really fun interview, so you can check it out right now, right here on the channel. And be sure when you check that out, check out this video, all the other content here on the channel. That again, as I mentioned earlier, you subscribe. We are quickly closing in on 5,000 subscribers. The quicker we get to that milestone, the better. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. I appreciate your support. You guys are the best. Enjoy Elimination Chamber on Sunday, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.